Hello everyone and welcome to my nature diaries. What we're going to be doing today is hopefully getting some inspiration from your nature journal, and this was one of my latest entries I recently did, and I just collected some pine and some berries you can see from foraging around a local park, and I thought what a great Christmas card this could make, and so I used these berries as my inspiration, a firethorn bush berries, and I came up with these, and I really like how they turned out, and I thought what a great way to showcase your nature journal and have a Christmas card at the same time. So thought we could do that for today, and I'll just show you how I did it. So starting with a clean sheet of paper, what you're going to want to do is find the design that you want, the inspiration, and you can trace over it and use a light box or a window. It might be tricky with a window with this, but go ahead and trace that design, or over a photo as well. And after you are done with your design, what you want to do is just use a pencil and just shade in the back. I used a Prismacolor ebony pencil, and then I'm using these Strathmore Ready Cut watercolor cards, 100% cotton, as my card design. So what I'll be doing here is just laying the design down, and I'm going to actually then clip it with a binder clip, or you could use painter's tape or washi tape, and that just holds it all in place. So as I'm tracing over the design, if I need to look at what I've done just to make sure I haven't missed anything, it won't move it, and it keeps the whole design in place. And so you can see as I'm flipping up, I don't know if you can tell, but it basically keeps it steady for me. Once we have transferred our design with that graphite, it's going to be very light, but that's exactly what we want, is to get a light colored design. So hopefully you can see this, but I do like it being this faint because it's really meant to be a guideline for you to use this micron. I'm using a 0.01 in order to trace over the design. One thing that really helps when you're drawing anything is to move the card or the piece of paper in the direction that works the best for you. And what I'm doing is tracing over these branches, but I'm using broken lines, and I'm kind of going back and forth, and I'm making it feel loose. And this is like really a great tip when you're trying to make something look realistic, is not using a very super solid line. Again, if you don't have a picture that you have drawn, you can always get a photo, take a photo and print that out and trace over that design, or make something based off of it. Just feel free to be able to experiment with how you would create something for yourself, but the main idea is to just get inspiration from nature around you. Hey, I just want to let you know, if you are new here, I would love to have you follow me along, subscribe, as we do all things nature journal, nature diary, and just use nature as our inspiration to create and be creative. So I hope you will hit that subscribe button after the video, or even now. Okay. As we continue here, we're just finishing up all those berries, and now we're going to go ahead and erase that graphite and get that all nice and clean. I have a photo card, and these are just like insert cards I got from the craft store, and I was going to put the card inside of it. Then I decided I didn't really like this look, so instead I'm going to use it as a template for a border for this card. So I'm just lightly tracing that, and we'll get to that later. Now what we're going to do is, with that same micron, I'm just going back in, I'm going to clean up my drawing, and I'm also going to be just adding shadow and depth by adding a wider line thickness to those berries, and you'll see, what a difference this makes. And of course you don't have to do this, but I like it. Go ahead and grab your whitest brush. We are going to now add these colors. I have a yellow ochre and a cadmium red, and we're going to add the background for this, taking some clean water first though, I'm going to just fill my brush up, load it up, and I'm going to really like soak this card and get it really wet so that color will absorb in super well. And that's exactly the effect that I'm trying to go for with this. So make sure that that paper is glistening. And while it's still wet, taking those colors that are pre-mixed, and there's also some burnt umber in there, just like a darker brown, and I'm just adding those colors randomly, separately, mixing them together, but I'm kind of doing them separately. I want the colors to just kind of stand alone as well as mix. I'm just adding layers of color and trying to add more color to the left-hand side of the card, and then I'm going in with just some cadmium red right there, act like little berries, and you can see how that's getting nice and soaked into the paper is exactly what I want. I don't want the background to be super dark because I want the berries to be the show, so I'm going to stop here. And then I have some kosher salt in this little jar, and this is really the cheapest salt you can find. Look for it in the canning section in your supermarket, and it really does a great job of creating some wonderful effects. I'm going to let that dry, and then you can see how that looks. You can also use table salt, but it will give a different look. So I just make sure I clean that off really, really well and get a clean surface ready for the next step. Looking back at my nature diary entry, I'm looking at those berries, and I decided to go with this cadmium red and cadmium yellow. I'm going to create a wash first over the berries, so it's kind of a peachy color, and this is kind of going to be part of the highlight color that I'm going to lay down first. And you can experiment with what colors work for you, but I feel like this was the best look for me. And then I'm going in with straight cadmium red, and I'm going to make little C shapes. I'm following along the outside edge of the berries. I didn't quite hit it all on there, but that's okay. I will clean it up, and with a clean damp brush I will blend out so the berries, so there won't be any hard edges, which you'll see in a moment. Now that we've done with that, we are going to sap green and viridian green, or you can just use what greens you have. I always like to use a combination of different greens to make leaf colors, and I'm using a wet on dry technique here, so the paper is dry, my brush is wet. I'm just layering in the different colors, starting with that sap green, and then I'll eventually be adding another green on top of that once I finish that. So taking that sap green, I'm going to now, while the leaves are still wet, I'm going to add some of that cadmium red to the leaves. And so it kind of cancels out the green, neutralizes it a bit, makes it almost an olive color. And I just like how it ties it in with the rest of the berries and the color composition of the card. And then taking that same color, I'm just going to finish up the branches with that, as it is a bush and not a tree, and there were reddish tones to the branches. Now I'm going to be using a Uniball Signo gold metallic pen, and I'm going to trace that border. You could use any kind of gold pen, but I have to tell you, these are the best pens, these Uniball Signos. If you can find them in the metallic colors, I highly recommend them. And then I'm going back to the Micron 0.1. If you notice on the bottom of the berries, and these berries have seen better days, but hey, they worked for inspiration. You see that there's a blossom and stem kind of, and what I'm going to do is just try to create that by making or marking a series of M's on the bottom of the berries, and I'm trying to hit them kind of in the same location, but you'll see that I vary it up a little bit. And that just shows you the movement or the position of the berries, and it kind of helps add to that realistic look that we're going for. And then you finish that up, and we are going to go and finish some more details to the branch, the main little branch. And I'm just adding more lines, and I'm also going under the branch and adding more black, the Micron, because I'm trying to show, again, shadow and depth. And so this is a great time to tweak all your design clean up anything that might need to be cleaned up, you can do here, and that's basically what I'm doing in this step. Now we're going to the Uniball Signo white gel pen, and I'm going to add just the highlights because berries are shiny and they definitely have a little bit of a white highlight to them, so I'm just adding that in the highlight area of the berries. And then I'm going back to that gold pen that I used earlier, and you could do this also with gold watercolor paint if you have it, but this just is so much easier. And see, I'm holding the pen very lightly and tapping and making sure the clusters look as random as possible. I just think it adds to the movement of the design. Here I switched over to the 0.08 micron to write in the name of the plant, which is Firethorn Bush, and I wanted to share what I learned with everyone that I'm sending these cards to, and I think it adds a nice little touch. And here's how they all turned out. I love it. They all look the same, yet they look very different and unique. Perfect Christmas cards for special friends and family. I loved how these turned out. I'm going to be making more and sending them out soon. And let me know if you are inspired by anything in your nature journal to make and create. And it's just amazing how you can take inspiration from things around you, photos, again, things that you've collected in nature for your own Christmas cards or just any kind of special occasion card. Thank you so much for watching, and please remember to like and subscribe, comment if you're making anything for Christmas, and I just want you to remember you are amazing and creative. We'll see you next time. Bye.